Today we're exploring the difference between support and jealousy, between real friends and false ones. This isn't about cynicism or paranoia. It's about clear-eyed observation that protects you from wasting energy on relationships that were never genuine. As Epictetus taught, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Let's learn to spot the difference. Sign 1. Real friends celebrate your success. Jealous ones minimize it. The reaction test. The clearest distinction between support and jealousy reveals itself in how someone reacts when you share good news. This is the moment of truth, and if you're paying attention, you'll see it clearly. The real friend. You tell them about your promotion, your achievement, your success. Their face lights up immediately. They ask questions because they're genuinely excited. That's amazing. How did it happen? How do you feel? Tell me everything. They want to hear the details, not to find flaws, but to share your joy. They celebrate your win as if it were their own because, in a sense, they've been rooting for you so hard that it feels like a shared victory. The jealous person. You share the same news. Their smile is delayed, forced, doesn't reach their eyes. They say, "Congratulations," but it sounds hollow. Then immediately, "Well, you were lucky with timing," or "Must be nice to have those connections," or "I guess it's easier in your field." Within seconds, they've found a way to diminish your achievement, to attribute it to factors other than your merit, to remind you, and themselves, that it's not as impressive as it seems. Seneca observed, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." But he could have added, "Jealous people suffer when others succeed, not because they're hurt, but because they imagine others' success as their own failure." The pattern to watch. One instance of minimization might be an off day, but watch the pattern. Consistent qualifiers. Every time you share good news, they add, "but," "although," "yeah, but," "must be nice," or other qualifiers that diminish rather than celebrate. Comparative framing. They immediately compare your achievement to someone else's bigger achievement or to their own experience. "That's cool, but did you hear about Sarah's promotion?" Or, "When I got promoted, it was even more competitive." Downplaying difficulty. They suggest what you did wasn't actually that hard. "That's great, but honestly, anyone could have done that with your advantages." Delayed or absent congratulations. They don't acknowledge your success at all, or they acknowledge it days later with minimal enthusiasm. Focus redirect. They quickly change the subject to themselves or to something negative. Your moment of sharing joy becomes about them or gets buried under complaints. The Stoic response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The cucumber is bitter, then throw it away. There are brambles in the path, then go around them. This is enough. Do not go on to say, 'Why were such things made in the world?'" Applied to friendship, the person who minimizes your success has revealed themselves. That's enough. Don't waste energy wondering why they're jealous or trying to win their approval. Simply note what you've learned and adjust accordingly. Real friends amplify your joy. Jealous people diminish it. This distinction is clear, observable, and reliable. Trust what you see. Sign 2. Real friends want details. Jealous ones want distance. The interest test. When you succeed, real friends lean in. Jealous people pull away. This physical and emotional distance is one of the most reliable indicators of jealousy disguised as friendship. The real friend. They want to know everything. How did you prepare? What was the process? What challenges did you face? How did you overcome them? They're asking because they're genuinely interested in your journey. They want to learn from your experience, and they're invested in understanding what you're going through. Your success is interesting to them, not threatening. After the initial celebration, they check in regularly. How's the new role going? Are you adjusting well? Any interesting challenges? They remain engaged with your new reality because they care about your experience, not just about maintaining the relationship at its previous level. The jealous person. They ask minimal questions, if any. When you try to share details, their eyes glaze over. They change the subject quickly. They don't follow up later. In fact, They might avoid the topic of your success entirely. It's as if your success is something uncomfortable they'd rather not discuss. They create physical and emotional distance. They're suddenly too busy to hang out. They don't return messages as quickly. They cancel plans. The friendship that felt strong when you were at similar levels feels strained now that circumstances have changed. They're pulling away because your success triggers discomfort they don't want to feel. The pattern to watch. Topic avoidance. They steer conversations away from your success and toward neutral topics or their own situations. Decreased contact. After your success, communication frequency drops noticeably. They're busy more often than before. Surface-level engagement. When you do interact, conversations stay shallow. They don't ask deeper questions about your new situation because they don't actually want to know. Discomfort when topic arises. If others bring up your success, they look uncomfortable, change body language, or make dismissive comments. No follow-through. They say, "We should celebrate," or "I want to hear all about it," but never actually follow through on plans. The Stoic understanding. Epictetus taught about the dichotomy of control, what's within your control and what isn't. Other people's jealousy isn't within your control. Their decision to create distance isn't something you can change. What you can control is your response. Recognize the pattern, accept it without taking it personally, and invest your energy in relationships that remain engaged. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you can make better." The person pulling away from your success isn't being improved by the association, and they're not improving you. That's information worth having. Real friends move closer when you succeed. They want to be part of your new chapter. Jealous people create distance to avoid feeling inadequate by comparison. The distance itself is the confession. Sign 3. Real friends ask how they can help. Jealous ones point out problems. The response test. When you share your plans, dreams, or new ventures, the real friend and the jealous person respond completely differently. This difference reveals their true orientation toward you. The real friend. "That's exciting. How can I help?" They immediately orient toward supporting you. They offer connections, advice, time, resources, whatever they have that might be useful. They don't wait to be asked. They proactively look for ways to contribute to your success. They introduce you to people who might help. They share relevant articles or information. They show up to support your events. They're actively invested in seeing you succeed. When you encounter obstacles, they help you problem solve. "What if you tried this approach?" Or, "I know someone who dealt with something similar. Want me to connect you?" They're solution-oriented because they want to see you overcome challenges. The jealous person. "That's interesting, but..." And then they list all the reasons it won't work. They focus on obstacles, risks, and problems. The market is saturated. That's really hard. Most people fail at that. Are you sure you're ready? They frame it as helpful realism, but it's actually pessimism designed to discourage you. They offer no actual help, no connections, no resources, no support, just warnings and doubt. They might even actively discourage. "Maybe you should wait. That seems risky. Why not stick with what you have?" They're invested in you staying where you are because your ambition triggers their own feelings of inadequacy. The pattern to watch. Immediate negativity. Your excitement is met with immediate focus on what could go wrong. No offer of support. They never volunteer help, connections, or resources, even when they have relevant ones. Passive non-participation. When you need help with something they could easily contribute to, they're conveniently unavailable or offer excuses. Emphasis on difficulty. They constantly remind you how hard what you're attempting is, supposedly to manage expectations, but actually to plant doubt. Historical references. They bring up others who tried and failed. Remember when John tried that? Didn't work out for him. Question your readiness. They subtly or overtly suggest you're not prepared, not qualified, or not ready, despite having supported you before you had this opportunity. The Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Applied here, waste no time arguing whether someone is truly supportive. Watch what they do, not what they say. Actions reveal truth. The Stoics valued pragmatic support over empty words. Seneca had genuine friends who supported him through exile and disgrace. He also had false friends who disappeared the moment his fortunes changed. He learned to distinguish them by observing who offered actual help versus who offered only performance of concern. Real friends are resources, not in a transactional way, but in the sense that they willingly share what they have to support your growth. Jealous people are obstacles, not deliberately harmful necessarily, but positioned in a way that makes your progress harder rather than easier. Sign 4. Real friends grow with you. Jealous ones remind you of your past. The evolution test. As you grow and change, real friends evolve with you. They embrace the new version of you that success and growth creates. Jealous people try to keep you frozen in the past version they were comfortable with. The real friend. They notice and appreciate your growth. You've really developed your leadership skills. Or, I can see how much you've learned. They engage with who you're becoming, not just who you were. When you develop new interests, they're curious about them. When you change your perspective on things, they're interested in understanding your new viewpoint. They see growth as positive and want to understand the evolved you. They adjust their relationship to accommodate your growth. If you've become busier with success, they respect that and work within your new constraints. If you've developed interests they don't share, they're happy for you to pursue those with others. They don't require you to stay the same to maintain the friendship. The jealous person. You've changed, said as an accusation rather than an observation. They constantly reference the past version of you. Remember when you used to? Or, you never used to be like this. They're trying to remind you, and themselves, of a time before your success, when you were more similar to them in circumstance. They pressure you to maintain old behaviors that don't serve you anymore. If you've stopped drinking, they pressure you to just have one. If you're focused on building something, they call you too serious and try to pull you back into old patterns of time wasting. They want you to regress because your growth highlights their stagnation. They dismiss new aspects of yourself. That's not really you, or you're just trying to be something you're not. They deny the validity of your evolution because accepting it would mean accepting that you've outgrown the shared identity you once had. The pattern to watch. Nostalgia weaponized. Constantly bringing up the good old days as superior to the present, implicitly criticizing who you've become. Resistance to change. They react negatively to any change in you, your schedule, your interests, your priorities, your circle. Identity policing. That's not like you, said about behaviors that represent growth and improvement. Pressure to regress. Encouraging old behaviors that no longer serve you, framing it as staying authentic or down to earth. Discomfort with new you. They seem uncomfortable around the current version of you, preferring to interact as if you're still the old version. The Stoic understanding. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Growth requires change. The person who would hold you to a past version is preventing you from becoming what you're meant to be. The Stoics believed in constant self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, continued learning and growing throughout his life. He understood that the person who stops evolving starts dying. Real friends support your evolution. Jealous people try to freeze you in place because your growth is a mirror showing their own stagnation. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Real friends encourage this. Jealous people want you to stop learning so they don't have to confront their own resistance to growth. Sign 5. Real friends give you energy. Jealous ones drain it. The energy test. One of the simplest but most reliable tests. How do you feel after spending time with this person? Energy flows tell truth that words often hide. The real friend. After time together, you feel energized, inspired, motivated. Even if you discuss challenges, you leave feeling more capable of handling them. They listen without judgment, celebrate your wins genuinely, and their presence adds to your life rather than subtracts from it. You look forward to seeing them because interactions are net positive. You come away with more energy than you invested. Their support feels like wind in your sails. After talking with them, you're more excited about your projects, more confident in your direction, more clear about your next steps. They remind you of your capabilities when you're doubting yourself. They see your potential and reflect it back to you. The jealous person. After time together, you feel drained, depleted, sometimes even depressed. They've spent the conversation complaining, competing, or subtly diminishing you. Even when the conversation seemed fine on the surface, you leave feeling somehow less confident, less motivated, less clear about your path. Their presence feels like added weight. You start dreading interactions because you know you'll come away feeling worse. You might not be able to articulate exactly why, but you notice you make excuses to avoid spending time with them. Your energy recognizes the drain before your mind fully processes it. The pattern to watch. Consistent depletion. Every interaction leaves you feeling tired, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Negativity gravitates. Conversations consistently drift toward complaints, problems, and what's wrong, rather than what's possible. Competitive undercurrent. Even neutral conversations feel like subtle competitions where they need to establish superiority or equality. Validation seeking. They constantly seek reassurance from you while offering little genuine support in return, taking your energy without replenishing it. Relief when interaction ends. You notice you feel relieved when you part ways, which is the opposite of how you should feel after time with a friend. The Stoic framework. The Stoics were practical about energy management. Seneca wrote, "Cherish some man of high character and keep him ever before your eyes." Notice, he doesn't say cherish everyone. He advises selectivity based on character and, implicitly, based on whether the relationship elevates you. Marcus Aurelius practiced ruthless boundaries around his time and energy, understanding that both are finite resources. He wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." But he also knew to limit exposure to persistently draining people, because even Stoic equanimity has limits when faced with constant energy vampires. Energy is information. If someone consistently drains you, that's your body and intuition telling you something your conscious mind might be reluctant to accept. This relationship isn't serving you. Real friends are net positive energy exchanges. Jealous people are net negative, taking more than they give because they're focused on their own discomfort with your success rather than on genuine connection. Sign 6. Real friends introduce you to opportunities. Jealous ones gatekeep them. The resource test. One of the most revealing tests. Does this person open doors for you or close them? Real friends are connectors who share opportunities. Jealous people are gatekeepers who hoard them. The real friend. They actively look for ways to help you advance. You should meet this person. They're working on something similar. I saw this opportunity and thought of you immediately. Let me introduce you to someone who could help with that. They make introductions freely, share information readily, and celebrate when those connections benefit you. They don't worry that helping you advance threatens them. They understand abundance. There's enough success for everyone, and your wins don't diminish theirs. In fact, they take pride in contributing to your success through connections and opportunities they've facilitated. The jealous person. They hoard opportunities, connections, and information. When they know about something perfect for you, they don't mention it. When you ask for an introduction they could easily make, they find reasons why it wouldn't be appropriate. They're really busy right now. Or, I don't think you're quite ready for that connection yet. They gatekeep under the guise of protection. I don't want to bother them. Or, let me check if the timing is right. They never follow up. They know that connecting you to opportunities might lead to your advancement, and your advancement triggers their insecurity. The pattern to watch. Information asymmetry. They benefit from information they never share with you, even when it would clearly help you. Excuse making about introductions. They always have reasons why they can't make introductions that would obviously benefit you. Taking credit for your connections. If you succeed through someone they introduced you to, they remind you constantly of their role in your success. Competitive positioning. They position themselves between you and opportunities, making sure they're the gatekeeper who decides if you get access. Withholding until asked. They make you explicitly ask for help they could have offered proactively, and even then, they're reluctant. The Stoic perspective. Seneca wrote about generosity as a virtue, not just financial generosity, but generosity of spirit, which includes sharing opportunities. He understood that truly abundant people share freely because they know there's enough for everyone. The Stoics also understood human nature. Jealous people operate from scarcity. They believe opportunities are limited, so your gain is their loss. This zero-sum thinking makes them hoard rather than share. Epictetus taught about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who improve you. The person hoarding opportunities isn't improving you, they're limiting you. The real friend opening doors is actively contributing to your growth and success. Marcus Aurelius valued people who acted for the common good. In friendship, the common good is mutual growth and success. Real friends understand this and act accordingly. Jealous people understand only self-interest, masked as friendship. Sign 7. Real friends stay consistent. Jealous ones become inconsistent. The consistency test. Perhaps the most reliable long-term indicator, consistency. Real friends remain steady regardless of your circumstances. Jealous people's behavior varies based on your success level. The real friend. They showed up when you had nothing, and they show up when you have everything. The quality of the friendship doesn't fluctuate based on your circumstances. They text you with the same frequency, make time with the same consistency, treat you with the same warmth whether you're struggling or succeeding. The relationship has a steady baseline that circumstances don't disturb. The jealous person. The relationship feels different now. They were around constantly when you were at similar levels. They were supportive when you were struggling. But now that you're succeeding, something's changed. They're distant, inconsistent, sometimes warm and sometimes cold. You never know which version you're going to get because their behavior depends on how they're feeling about themselves relative to you in that moment. The pattern to watch. Variable availability. They're available when you're struggling, but unavailable when you're succeeding. Inconsistent warmth. Some days they're friendly, other days they're cold. The variability correlates with your visible success. Unpredictable responses. You can't predict whether sharing good news will be met with celebration or coolness. Changed dynamics. The friendship that felt equal now feels strained, as if they're uncomfortable with the new balance. Comparison-dependent behavior. They're warm when they perceive themselves as doing well, cold when they perceive you as doing better. The Stoic truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." Applied to friendship, the object isn't to maintain every relationship, but to escape wasting energy on friendships that were never genuine. The Stoics valued consistency as a marker of character. A person of strong character remains steady regardless of external circumstances, their own or others. The person whose behavior fluctuates based on others' success reveals weak character rooted in comparison and insecurity. Seneca observed that true friendship survives all circumstances. He maintained friendships through enormous shifts in fortune, from advisor to emperor to exile to execution. The friendships that survived weren't circumstance-dependent, they were character-based. Real friends are constants in a variable life. Jealous people are variables whose behavior changes with the circumstances they're jealous of.